Halloween, 1968, 11 p.m. The Queen City slept uneasy under a wispy moonlit sky. Clouds eased by the moon, while the wind off Lake Erie howled through autumn-raked leaves. Porch pumpkins burned low, their faces melting into grotesque grins as trick-or-treat candy lay sorted on kitchen tables. Buffalo's streets were empty now, only scraps of torn trick-or-treat bags fluttering in the gutters. Only the sound of rustling leaves scratching at windows like bony fingers. Then, at 11 p.m., that familiar voice opened a well-promoted broadcast on 1520 a.m. WKBW radio, cutting through the night.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Dan Everett. In a few moments, WKBW radio will begin its broadcast of H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds.
Radios in homes and cars that were tuned in across Buffalo crackled awake. In Kaisertown kitchens, on the west side above taverns, in South Buffalo bedrooms where the furnace clanged and rattled, listeners awaited this sci-fi classic. Yet, what they heard was a normal-sounding newscast done by veteran newsman Joe Downey. Impatiently, they waited for it to end. Where's the War of the Worlds? They wondered. Next, the comedic Sandy Beach made reference to the last story on Downey's newscast about giant blue flames on the planet Mars, which led into Eleanor by the Turtles. Was this it? The War of the Worlds story? How is this what they advertised? Then, minutes later, during Hey Jude by the Beatles, a news bulletin interrupted the song with a deadly serious proclamation that a large meteor had landed on Grand Island, killing several people and causing chaos. Apparently, the radio station's planned Halloween special would have to wait as real news was taking over. Next, Program Director Jeff Kaye, with his commanding voice, a steady and commanding voice, one listeners trusted. He spoke of expanding news coverage of the disaster on Grand Island. Minutes later came a live report by Jim Fagan, then another and another. This was an unbelievable disaster, one never experienced in Western New York. But wait, explosions and fires suddenly made way for reports of alien beings slithering out of a metallic capsule. Next came a towering war machine, zapping radio newsmen live on air. This was not breaking news. It was a war of worlds, as advertised. The capsules had fallen near Grand Island, then Lancaster, then Cheektowaga. The names of familiar towns and cities made the blood run cold. This wasn't New Jersey, like the Orson Welles broadcast in 1938. This wasn't far away. This was their backyard. The reports grew darker. Sirens screamed through the radio static. Irv Weinstein's grave voice painted a picture of armored machines stalking the fields outside Buffalo. Jeff Kaye, who was professional and calm only moments ago, now sounded breathless, panicked, as he described flames pouring across Main Street. The sound effects, machine hums, tank fire, the scream of sirens, felt too real, too close. A woman in Tonawanda blew out her jack-o'-lantern and locked the door. A bartender on Hertel Avenue cranked up the volume until his bar fell silent. Men gripping their beers, watching the shadows in the windows. A father on the east side shook his children awake, telling them to dress quickly, that they were leaving, now. By 11:20, mild hysteria was spreading faster than the imagined Martians. Some families even huddled around radios, as if what they were listening to was real. Lines jammed at police switchboards. One man swore he could hear marching outside, the heavy metallic footfalls of something not human. The night itself seemed to turn against Buffalo. The wind screamed down Michigan Avenue like a warning siren. power lines swayed, their wires hissing like snakes. At the foot of the central terminal, shadows stretched across the cracked pavement like the legs of giants. On Delaware Avenue, an old elm creaked as if it were to topple in the gusts, crashing down with the sound of something monstrous tearing its way through the city. And through it all, the voices on the radio continued. Trusted voices, Buffalo voices, describing the Queen City in flames. Finally, 15 minutes past midnight, this radio classic concluded. The machines had destroyed Buffalo and surrounding areas. The Martians had won. At least it seemed that way, until the familiar Dan Nevrith again came on to explain. The invaders from Mars had actually perished due to what Earthlings knew as a common cold virus. Nevrith's voice was calm. The battle was over. Humanity survived. Because listeners, it never actually happened. But in Buffalo, the fear somehow still lingered. Those who were not in on the joke wept with relief. Others, angry they were taken by the realistic news reports, cursed the radio men who had twisted Halloween into a true night of terror. Listeners who stayed for the entire broadcast would never forget that 75+ minutes, when the shadows outside the window felt alive, when that water tower in the distance appeared to move closer, when the wind in the eaves sounded like footsteps, and when WKBW made the impossible real. Epilogue. Not everyone believed the terror had ended. On the city's northern edge, near the black waters of the Niagara River, a Tonawanda man stepped outside for air after the broadcast ended. The streets were deserted, porch lights extinguished. He lit a cigarette to steady his hands and glanced toward the skyline. That's when he saw them. 3 pale lights hovering in the distance over the Peace Bridge, their reflections trembling in the river below. For a moment, they hung there, pulsing, almost breathing. Then, with impossible speed, they shot eastward over the grain elevators, streaking past the Buffalo Harbor and Memorial Auditorium, and vanished into the clouds above Lackawanna without a sound. The man swore the story until his dying day. So, while most of Buffalo laughed about WKBW's Halloween prank, a few whispered something else. That maybe, just maybe, the broadcast hadn't been a trick at all. And every Halloween since, when the wind rattles the windows of Delaware Avenue mansions, and the sky hangs low over Lake Erie, some still wonder if Buffalo really was visited that October 31st night in 1968.